Leadership popular figure Michael Fullan. The leader's background. Leaders have to provide direction, create the conditions for effective peer interaction, and intervene along the way when things are not working as well as they could. Michael Fullan, The 6 Secrets of Change, What the Best Leaders Do to Help Their Organizations Survive and Thrive. Quick biography. Michael Fullan, born 1940, is a Canadian educational researcher and former Dean of the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, OISE. He is noted for his expertise on educational reform, and has consulted to school districts, teacher groups, research institutes, and governments. Early life and career. Fullan was born in Toronto, Ontario. He earned a doctorate in sociology in 1969 from the University of Toronto, and then worked as a graduate teacher, researcher, and leader of in-service programs. Fullan was appointed Dean of the University of Toronto's Faculty of Education, FEUT, in 1988, and remained Dean following FEUT's amalgamation with the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education in 1996. He stepped down in 2003, and serves now as Professor Emeritus. Fullan served as Special Policy Advisor in Education to the Premier of Ontario from 2004 to 2013. In March 2013, Fullan met with California Governor Jerry Brown to discuss the possibility of pursuing educational reforms in California similar to those in Ontario. Where does he work? Fullan is a worldwide authority on education reform. He is the Global Leadership Director of New Pedagogies for Deep Learning, NPDL, a global partnership of over 1,000 schools. In this role he advises policymakers around the world on the importance of leadership in education. A former Dean of the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education of the University of Toronto, Fullan received the Order of Canada in December 2012 and holds honorary doctorates from several universities in North America. He earned his Ph.D. in 1969 from the University of Toronto. What's it all about? NPDL builds on Fullan's writing, seeking to put his ideas into practice. The partnership network works alongside educators and governments to change the role of teachers to activators of learning, who design learning experiences that build on pupils' strengths and needs, create new knowledge using real-life problem-solving, and help all pupils identify their talents. In order to help teachers and leaders cultivate and circulate professional capital in their schools, NPDL created a Professional Capital Index that aims to assist teachers and school leaders in self-assessing the status of professional capital in their schools, and deepen understanding of how, and to what extent, schools and educational systems develop and circulate professional capital. Their School Leader Survey and Teacher Survey are available for free on their website. What does he research? Fullan's writing has covered many elements of education. His 1998 book, What's Worth Fighting For in Education, explored how teacher quality and morale were fundamental to pupil learning and well-being, and included strategies for empowering teachers. Before that, he explored the complex job faced by school leaders in What's Worth Fighting For in the Principalship, 1997. In The Moral Imperative of School Leadership, 2003, he examined the moral purpose of educational leadership and the role leaders play in transforming schools. His more recent books, included 2010's Motion Leadership, continued the theme of school leadership, outlining how leadership could lead school change through personal connects, trust and transparency.
Now we can explore Fullan's main educational theories. In Fullan's books, there is a shared idea about the nature of change. The change is a complex, non-linear, unpredictable, and dynamic process. The change is depicted as something that is exhausting, and it's described through expressions that suggest that change is overwhelmingly a challenging and demanding process. Change affects people in both either positive and or negative way. For Fulham, change is talked about as follows: real change, then, whether desired or not, represents a serious personal and collective experience, characterized by ambivalence and uncertainty. And if the change works out, it can result in a sense of mastery, accomplishment, and professional growth. The essence of change can cause people anxiety, but also pleasure. Folland draws a picture of an ongoing public service reform, education as one of its components, and the need for pursuing a long-term sustainable improvement, not just aiming for short-term results. Understanding change is not limited to education, but is seen as a part of the whole society, its development and welfare. Therefore, the aim of closing the gap and raising the bar for all students is constantly present in Poland's contemplations of the change. The route to changing the system is through people's minds, people's thinking and beliefs. System change is about changing cultures within the education system in which educators work. Thus, change happens only if people who it concerns can rethink educational practices and question the old habits and practices. People play an important role, and further, in order to transform the system, a new breed of leaders, as Fallon says, has to be produced. Systems consist of individuals, and it means that systems must change, and furthermore, they must change towards sustainability. It can be done through leaders at the system level and all other levels, becoming conscious that they are engaged in widening people's experiences. The proposition is that the key to changing systems is to produce greater numbers of systems thinkers. They will gravitate toward strategies that alter people's mental awareness of the system as a whole, thereby contributing to altering the system itself. The Fulanian way urges every level in an education system to collaborate with each other. Without overall commitment, the system will not go through the system transformation Poland is talking about. Poland reminds that change is a learning experience for adults, and he means every adult in the education system. And the learning also involves children. Thus, the work methods Fowler suggests are related to learning and to overall capacity building, of which the latter is defined as involving, developing the collective abilities, dispositions, skills, knowledge, motivation, and resources to act together to bring about positive change. Therefore, the transformation Fallen talks about happens through people, starting from leaders who will be able to keep the movement of the system on the intended course by facilitating the overall interaction between people.
The Change Theory by Michael Fullan. Change really isn't as hard as we thought if we capture people's interest and give them enjoyable, worthwhile experience. Over the past decade, theories of change were launched. The most important achievement of theories is to change knowledge at work. Fullan insists on redesigning the change result in action to be deliberately and in a self-reflective and group-reflective manner. Motivation. Improvement is the result of individual and collective motivation. Clearly, moral purpose is the main motivator, but other aspects should be involved to create long-run motivation, such as capacity, resources, peer and leadership support, and identity. The second premise here is capacity building with a focus on results. Capacity building is defined as any strategy that helps develop not only collective effectiveness for the organization, but also individual improvement for teachers and students accordingly. As Elmer advised, no external accountability scheme can be successful in the absence of internal accountability. Accountability here is the capacity building with a focus on result. Remember, in the chain theory, capacity building is first and judgment comes second. The third one is learning in context. The development of systematic knowledge happens only through cultural change in terms of values, instruction, and behaviors. Thus, learning in context would change the context of changing as well. Which leads to the fourth premise, changing context, in which school and districts are following same procedures of theory of change as a step forward towards broader improvement, such as infrastructure change. The fifth premise is the bias for reflective action. Do we suggest that it's not that we learn by doing, but that we learn by thinking about what we are doing? How to get it done? First, by sharing vision and ownership. Second, enhancing behaviors change. And the third aspect is planning. People are learning more through doing and reflecting in what they have done. Sixth premise is tree-level engagement. This engagement happens by creating strategies of connection for fully interaction within the three levels. The seventh and the last premise is flexibility to stay in course. For a leader to be able to conduct the six premises, it takes resilience, persistence, and flexibility to stay in course. At the end, we should remember that there is nothing permanent except change. Thank you.
List important books, bestsellers. Leading in a Culture of Change: The Principle, 3 Keys to Maximizing Impact. Professional Capital, Transforming Teaching in Every School. Cultures Built to Last, Systemic PLCs at Work. The 6 Secrets of Change, What the Best Leaders Do to Help Their Organizations Survive and Thrive. Michael Fullan's latest books. Nuance, Why Some Leaders Succeed and Others Fail. Surreal Change, The Real Life of Transforming Public Education. Autobiography. Deep Learning, Engage the World, Change the World, with Joanne Quinn and Joanne McEachin. Coherence, Putting the Right Drivers in Action, with Joanne Quinn. The Principle, 3 Keys for Maximizing Impact. Synopsis of best-selling and highly popular books. 1. Leading in a Culture of Change. Synopsis. On the name, Fullan said, leading in a culture of change is the capacity to manage and incorporate change on a continuous basis that serves the goals of the organization. The book illustrated how leaders can focus on key themes that will allow them to lead effectively under messy conditions and how leaders foster leadership in others. The combination makes them indispensable. New insights on the 5 components of change leadership. Following is a recap of the new insights in each of the components of change leadership. Establish the 5 pillars of effective leadership. 1. Moral purpose. Leaders have to be contextually literate to deeply understand the culture they are in. Fullan said it is critical that leaders take the time to deeply engage with context so that we can become lead learners within our organizations. 2. Understanding change, jokes Fullan. Nuance is about getting below the surface, asking more questions to create a unity of purpose. 3. Building relationships, it's all about effective collaboration. The new concept is connected autonomy, said Fullan. It's about building trust. A lot can happen rapidly when trust exists. 4. Creating and sharing knowledge, what's new is deep learning. The big change is that, at least in the short run, We've overestimated AI and underplayed human intelligence, students and teachers. 5. Creating coherence. Leadership is the job of forging coherence, said Fullan. We made the point that systems must have a shared sense of purpose about the work and that coherence making has to be part of everything. Understand the concept of culture, develop more effective cultures, gain insights for leading change more effectively. To the principal, 3 keys to maximizing impact. Synopsis. Over the past 2 decades, Michael Fullan has written influentially about the change that school and district leaders must bring about as formalized achievement standards and new technology transform how schools are run. What he hasn't done until now is explore and discuss in detail how and why the principal's role itself must change. Principals are often called the second most crucial in school influencers, after teachers, of student learning. But what should the principal do in order to maximize student achievement? In The Principal, Fullan explains why the answer lies neither in micromanaging instruction nor in autonomous entrepreneurialism. He also shows systematically how the principal's role must change, and demonstrates how it can be done in short order, at scale. Fullan shows how principals have been boxed into a narrow role that undercuts their ability to develop the whole school. He sheds light on how, in times of crisis, it's all too easy for principals to do the wrong thing, to take actions that are ineffective or even counterproductive, particularly when they don't feel entirely in charge. But even in the toughest of external conditions, he shows, there is always leeway for action. Fullan explains how to choose the right versus wrong drivers, loosening focus on accountability and instead concentrating on capacity building, focusing less on technology and more on pedagogy, abandoning fragmented strategies and striving for systemness, and foregoing individualistic solutions in favor of collaborative effort. He shares how principals can foster the professional capital of teachers and get far more accomplished for all students.
Now let's talk about other 2 most famous books for Michael Fullan. The first book is The 6 Secrets of Change, and the second book that we'll talk about later in the second part of this presentation is Professional Capital, Transforming Teaching in Every School. First, let's start with the 6 Secrets of Change. Michael Fullan talked about 6 secrets if you would like to achieve change in schools. He talked about love your employees, connect peers with purpose, capacity building prevails, learning is the work, transparency rules, systems learn. First, the first secret, love your employees. In education, principals need to care for teachers as well as caring for students. School administrators should care for teachers' social responsibilities, professional development, and personal satisfaction. School administrators should make teachers feel proud of being part of their schools as well. The second secret of a change that Fullan talked about is connect peers with purpose. Fullan said, show me a cohesive creative organization and I will show you peer interaction all the way down. People should be encouraged to bond with their peers. Leaders should foster collaboration and create a sense of shared responsibility in the whole organization. School administrators are advised to cultivate a culture which makes teachers believe that achievement of goals is a matter of shared will, not individual skills. The third secret of a change is capacity building prevails. Fullan said, invest in employees or teachers' development, find the best resources, teachers, and materials. A leader should start his role non-judgmental to encourage building new capacities and enhance risk-taking spirit. Then later, the leader uses judgmentalism to optimize the performance inside the organization. The fourth secret of a change is learning is the work. Consistency and innovation are to get built into the culture of everyday work. As teachers continue to collaborate with other teachers and instructional leaders daily, their minds are constantly monitoring and making adjustments. Leaders should teach employees how to be effective through daily interactions. Deep learning should be embedded into the culture of the workplace. The fifth secret of a change is transparency rules. Michael Fullan talked about openness about practices in schools are essential for school success. Fullan built transparency rules upon accountability, data gathering, improvement, and credibility. The last secret of a change that Fullan described is systems learn. Fullan says in 2008, it's believed that when a company performs poorly, it's because of the CEO performance. Therefore, a successful organization has to adopt systems learning strategy. The focus should be on developing many leaders working in concert instead of relying on one individual. Fullan talked about 4 guidelines, though associated with paradoxes, to achieve systems learn. He talked about act and talk as if you were in control and project confidence. Take credit and some blame. Talk about the future. Be specific about a few things that matter and keep repeating them. Now we talk about another famous important book for Michael Fullan, which he wrote together with another colleague or another scientist, Andy Hargreaves. This book is called Professional Capital: Transforming Teaching in Every School. In this book, Michael and his colleague talk about teaching is a profession with shared purposes and responsibility. When teachers work together, the chances of increasing professional capital are therefore increased significantly. Professional capital means investing in business capital. It's the systematic development and integration of the 3 kinds of capital, human, social, and decisional, into the teaching profession that produces sustainable, successful educational systems.
Michael Fullan Awards.
This book won 2 of the most prestigious awards in the field of education. The first prize or the first award that this book got was AACTE 2013 Book of the Year Award, and the second was the Gromeyer Award in Education in 2015.
Michael Fullan is a prolific, award-winning author whose books have been published in many languages. His book Leading in a Culture of Change received the 2002 Book of the Year Award by Learning Forward. Breakthrough, with Peter Hill and Carmel Kreva, won the 2006 Book of the Year Award from the American Association of Colleges for Teacher Education, ASCTE. Turnaround Leadership in Higher Education, with Jeff Scott, won the Bellwether Book Award in 2009. Change Wars, with Andy Hargreaves, was named the 2009 Book of the Year by Learning Forward. Professional Capital, with Andy Hargreaves, won the ASCTE 2013 Book of the Year and the Gromeyer Award in Education in 2015. Thank you for listening.